Hi everyone, so I'm going to talk about the controversial topics that come up in teenage pregnancy. Now, the topics that I'm going to address are really not meant to be taking a stance either which way, but just kind of presenting the information and the issues and some of the conversation that I've seen through my research about these issues for teenage pregnancy. So when a teen becomes pregnant, she has three choices. She may keep her baby, she may give her baby up for adoption, or she may choose to abort her baby. Now, the topic of abortion has been controversial for many years, and not just with teenage pregnancy, but when you add the teenage factor to the issue, it becomes even more highly debated and a hot topic. Why is this? Well, the person who chooses to have an abortion usually makes that decision for themselves. But in the case of teenage pregnancy, very often parents have been making decisions for that teen for many years, and only just of recently maybe given the teenager some leeway on making decisions for themselves. And then we have the teen presented with such a big decision to make, such as abortion, which is, a very emotional and difficult decision to make in the first place. So let's look at some of the issues going on for a teen that may choose to have an abortion. Why may they choose that? The teen may choose to have an abortion because they do not feel ready to have a child, because they worry that they can't provide financially, or they might be afraid of their parents finding out that they have the pregnancy in the first place. But why may a teen choose to not want an abortion? A teen may choose not want an abortion because the teen feels a connection to their baby, because they wanted a child in the first place, because they have religious beliefs that would prohibit them from considering an abortion in the first place. And they may be afraid of the abortive procedure itself. So for the many decisions that the minor has to make at this time, a lot of the laws revolve around kind of giving the minor some support in deciding to have an abortion or not. And what I mean by that is that every state has a different abortion law when it comes to teenagers. In fact, I have a link right here for Planned Parenthood's website. It goes through every single state and what the law is. So it's really important that you know that for your own, care of the teenage pregnant mom in your own state. And you can go ahead and click and look there. But for example, a state may choose to allow that teen to make this decision completely on their own. The teen may have to involve a parent and let them know about the procedure, but the parent doesn't have the final say in if they may have it or not. Or the teen may have to get permission from one or both parents. And in most states, the teen can apply to get what is called a judicial bypass. So the teen would have to go to a judge and petition that they have a good reason to not tell their parents or involve their parents or guardians in the decision making to have an abortion. And like I said, the idea of involving parents has traditionally been because legislation wants the teen to have some kind of emotional support and some support in making that decision in the first place, so that they don't feel alone in having to do that. So if a teen can get a judicial bypass, then why would we even need to worry about having these laws in the first place? Well, we have to really think about the idea that the teen might not be able to get the judicial bypass in time to have their abortion based on the abortive laws in that state. For instance, Georgia just passed a law which is called the Heartbeat Law, and there's other states that are in the process of trying to get this law passed, that as soon as you can detect fetal heart tones on a baby, that baby is no longer a candidate for the child and mom are no longer candidates for an abortion. And nowadays, with modern technology, we can find heartbeats between 6 and 8 weeks. Let's suppose a teen is finding out that they're pregnant. They're probably finding out around week 4 to 5 of their cycle, maybe even week 6 of their cycle, if they were being optimistic that their period would come, which totally not normal. And by the time that they've gone to their first appointment to confirm a pregnancy, it's not only being confirmed through a urine test, but it's being confirmed through a heartbeat. And that teen doesn't get the chance to choose to keep the baby or not. So, just something to think about when we're thinking about teens' rights in pregnancy and all that. And then why else wouldn't a teen want to tell their parents about it? So I found kind of an older study, but I really thought it was relevant as far as the conclusions for it. But in Stanley K. Henshaw and Catherine Kost in 1902 did a study on teens ages 14 to 17 and whether they involved a parent with an abortion or not and why. Most of the teens that chose not to involve a parent were 16 to 17, and they were able to pay for it on their own. But even so, one of the big factors in telling a parent or not was whether there was violence in the home. And so this was comparing a group that had told their parents versus a group that had initially not told their parents, but whose parents found out anyways through, social network and just by hearing about it around town. And so the researchers found that 13% of the teens that had initially not told their parents were experiencing and had experienced violence in the home, and 4% of the teens who had told their parents had experienced violence in the home. So this is significant because teens are worried that they may experience that kind of violence during their pregnant state, and it's really a barrier between having that conversation and receiving permission from their parents, or even having the conversation in the first place to get an abortion. So as we can see, there's a lot of things that go into this. Another topic that I'll just briefly touch on is that of birth control. And I wanted to touch on that because it is the precursor to pregnancy or not, potentially. And there's still a lot of conversation whether teens should have access to birth control, how they should have access to birth control. And essentially we have, one side that's saying we should have, teens should have access to birth control because it will help them prevent teenage pregnancy. And educating them is key to helping them make healthy decisions on, all things sexual health and planning pregnancy or not. And then the other side is saying that, birth control is, by offering it and having it so available, we're kind of encouraging teens to have sex and they will get pregnant regardless whether they have the birth control or not, because they may use it or they may know about it but not choose to use it. And so, we have kind of a debate over where and how it should be available. Can it be available in places like Planned Parenthood versus should the school nurse be handing out condoms to teens as well? And so that has a lot of conversation around it and parent values and what they like to see available and their child surrounded by on a regular basis. But it is important to note that the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, or ACOG, put out a statement in 2017 supporting access for teens to have birth control if they wanted it, and that their recommendation is that there would be a dual type, so teens would be using condoms and some kind of hormonal birth control so that they do not get pregnant and they do not pass on any STDs from one to the next. So it's also important to notice that ACOG stated that even though pregnancy in teens is at an all-time low in 2015, we still have higher rates in the United States as opposed to other industrialized countries. So those are two of the hot topics in teen pregnancy. Go ahead and think about how you feel about them and what we can do to help out these teens. Thanks.